Welcome to the Scaleup Valley podcast, where we bring the best leaders to share their scaling up journey with you. And I'm super happy today because we are launching a special edition with inspirational women leaders. I am Mary Menezes, your host, and today our guest is Esther Liska, founder and CEO of Glow Woman Club. Esther, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's start. Let us know more about yourself and your scaling up journey.
It all started a few years ago. First, I have to say that I started early because I was born in Venezuela. And then I moved from Venezuela when I was 21 years old. I moved to England. That was the first time I emigrated. And then I lived in England for 6 years and decided to move to Portugal after those 6 years. So it was the second time I have to start all over again. So all these moving to different countries and start everything from zero was big things, big mark points in my life. And all of them were guiding me to what I do nowadays. I should say that everything that I do today is a result of all these experiences that I have during those years, especially because I'm a daughter of two immigrant families. My mom's side is from Hungary, and my dad's side is from Portugal. Both families immigrated during the 40s and the 50s. And I was born in Venezuela, and then I immigrated myself. So I think this search of finding my own path, it was there since my childhood. And if you want to ask me how did I end up working as a coach and a mentor and founding the Glow Woman Club, which is an organization to promote more women leadership, is because all this journey was to find my purpose. Especially because when I had to decide what to study, I have a dilemma between going to international relations and psychology. I ended up studying international relationships, and then today, if you ask me, I think I do both of the two things. Because what I like the most in each of these careers was that psychology is there to understand ourselves, how we work, how our mind works, our three dimensions, which I can talk to you more about that a little bit later. And I was curious about how can we develop our potential. And on the other side, what I loved about international relations was to learn about other countries, to connect between different people. And actually, I do that through my organization because we connect with other organizations around the world. It's an international platform, so I get to meet people from different cultures. And that's my fuel. And that's why it really gives me energy to go on.
Wow. And during that journey as a woman entrepreneur, what has been the most significant barrier during that journey as a woman, female?
No, I want to say that, Mary, and if I had the opportunity to say this through your program, I would give a message to women.
Yes, please.
Because we tend to see that the barriers are outside us, and they're not. They're always inside us. That was my biggest finding. There was always our barriers, and actually today one of my programs which is called Glow with Confidence, is about overcoming the 7 principal barriers that I found in mostly repetitive in women entrepreneur. I have passed all of them. I have lived all of them. And because I went through them and I overcame them, I decided to create a program, which is a program on 7 steps, and each step is about one of each barrier. And it's also in my book, Glow with Confidence. And I always talk about that because first, and I can share them with you, the first barrier is lack of confidence that affects most women. Actually, there is a study in a university in the United States that says that young girls between the primary and secondary age, they lost 3.5 times more self-esteem than boys. If you ask, for instance, a 9-year-old boy what you're good at, and they say very confident, oh, I'm good at math, I'm good at English, or I'm good at football, or whatever. If you ask the same question, a young girl, the tendency is for her to reply, oh, I'm a good friend, I'm loyal, which I'm not saying there are not good qualities, but the reference that young girls have is in relation to the other one. She cannot see the qualities in herself. It's like it's invisible, or she cannot see it that clear as it is as a boy. And since I found that study, I was curious about what can I do to do that, because I passed all those sufferings when I was a teenager, and I staggering when I was speaking in public. I wouldn't dare to raise my hand in the school because I was afraid, and all these things, we bring them from young age, and we take them to the workplace. Actually, there is something that I work is we have to be careful with the words we say to young girls, because when we say be a good girl, that is interpreted by the girl as I have to be nice, I have to agree with everything, and not always is like that. And we, as adults, women, we translate that into a good wife, a good professional, and that doesn't mean that we are excellent in what we do. It's like sometimes we don't express what we are ourselves. Actually, my lemma, my slogan is be you, be authentic, because we think inside that we have to please everyone, and we have to avoid conflict, and we have to, you say yes all the time. This is another thing that for women is we have a lot of difficulty to say no, and then that's why we end up overloaded with work, because we cannot say no to the things that we need to say no. So there's a lot of things. Other barriers are like we tend now to avoid exposure, so we don't want to have visibility. So we work in our companies, and we work in the shadow. No one knows how much contribution we give to the company. And if you are an entrepreneur, then it's very difficult for you to sell your own products. And actually, I tend to hear that a lot from young entrepreneurs. They say that especially the women that work for other companies before they launch their own company, they say, when I was working for other people, other companies, it was easy for me to sell their products. But now that I work for myself, it's difficult to portray them, to show them. It's like they cannot take accountability for that. And that's something that I always am saying in all the opportunities that I have to speak to young women, and even not that young, because sometimes we learn that later. As soon as we start and become aware of that, it's easy for us to start all the changes.
And you also, you are a mentor and coach, and
Yes.
you give that tools to the woman, right?
Yes, actually, it's been raising so much that this month I'm launching a program for group mentoring, because I realized that to reach more women, it could be more difficult for me to be one-on-one. And so I create a mentorship program, which is 90-minute coaching and mentoring with me here, like a platform that we're using now online. And we can meet once per month, and we have a community inside the platform. So we can talk, we can put our fears, our challenges. We also can put our conquers, because we celebrate as well, which is something that we are not taught to do that. Because when we celebrate, when we conquer something, then as young girl says, don't do that because that's selfish, or it's seen as you are bragging yourself, and as not bragging, that recognizing the value and the achievements that you have done. Because maybe if a boy does that, he is doing well because he's recognizing. But if a girl does it, that doesn't look that nice. So we have to take all these stereotypes away from and bias from our point of view, and start seeing young boys and girls like you have the same opportunity to do whatever they want to do.
Wow, and you believe that only integration our masculine and feminine natures, relating with that barriers and how to overcome, we become whole leaders. What do you mean by this, whole leaders?
I'm also very keen on working on conscious leadership, and one of the main principles about consciousness and applied to leadership is to embrace all our inner power. And what's that? Our inner power, and all humans there is the forces of nature as well. Everything in the universe has a duality. Like for the Chinese, it's the yin and yang. For the Hinduism, it's Shiva and Shakti. And within us, we have the two energies as well. So when I talk about the feminine energy, is when we are manifesting, for instance, our sense of nurturing, our sense of caring, our sense of inclusion. And then if we're talking about more masculine energy, we're talking about focus, assertiveness, order, discipline. But what happens is that when we tend to move unbalanced of these energies, if we are in the unbalanced part of the energy, of the feminine energy, we tend to be extremely emotional, with lack of self-esteem, very fragile. This is the unbalanced feminine energy. The unbalanced masculine energy is when we become aggressive, authoritarian, very dominant. So if we both, men and women, have these energies within them, I see, for instance, women that tend to become more masculine, like talking harder or being not herself, because if you're being yourself and that's naturally you, that's okay. But a lot of women that I mentor, and they are in top positions in multinationals and they have a lot of responsibility, some of them, because they are surrounded by a masculine board, they tend to become more masculine to fit in. And I wonder, what if all women, wherever place we are, we be ourselves? Because sometimes the energy that is needed in that company is your energy. You don't need to, block yourself to try to fit into someone, because wherever we do that, we are not being true to ourselves. And that's when we start or getting ill, or getting tired, or have a burnout, or a disease come, or a depression come. And those are signs that we are not being in congruence and in authenticity with ourselves. I don't know if I explained myself, Mary.
Yes, was perfect. And relating with that about the balance, in your profile you have leadership in business, not only about business, it's about life. How do you balance your work and life?
Yes, that's a very important topic that I usually talk about in my Women's Executive Leadership Program. This is a 3-day immersion program. And that's always, Mary, the main question for women in top positions or within leading roles. How do you balance? And the answer is, you don't need to balance. Because, and that's why when I said that your life it's not about business, it's about life. It's like your life is your business. Okay, since the moment you wake up and go to the kitchen and have a cup of coffee, you are in business. Okay, even if you work for another company, that's your business as well, because our lives is our business as well. So the moment we start separating and trying to think, it's like, imagine that you have someone pulling your right arm and another person is pulling your left arm. If that's work and the other represents the family or personal side, they are pulling two different sides. What are you in the middle feeling? It's like you know where to go. Okay, but if you embrace everything and you see like you don't have to separate yourself from anything, then you start seeing in innovative ways, and that's why we work around that, how to change the point of view and start doing things in a different. And I give you an example to see it very clearly. When the first thing that you have to do is to have a clear vision of your values. Why? Because our values are what guide us. So everything that all the choices and the things that we do are based on what is important and valued for us. For instance, if family for me is important, and I give you an example. The best idea that I have got for my peer groups in the Global Woman Club, I have it one day that I was at the swimming pool combing the hair of my daughter because I took her to her swimming lessons. And I was, so relaxed and so present with her and, combing her hair. And it was such a relaxing moment for me. And then I think that my mind was so relaxed that then an idea came. And I was like, wow, that's it. So I'm going to apply that. There was something that I was looking for, but I was so in that moment with the flow, with the the energy and present with her. And it doesn't mean that I have to separate myself because I was with my daughter, who was personal, what you call personal time. And it's not like I was not fully present with her because I was, but then the idea came. And that's my work side. So I don't need to divide myself because I was working as well. At the same time, I was with my daughter. Sometimes if I need to travel for the conference, I try to do the holidays with my family and I do 2-in-1, like we travel with the family, but I'm also working. So then when we realize that and you change your point of view about that, then you find innovative ways to organize everything so everything fits into your own values. And a lot of women, and that, Mary, I share with you because it's something that it comes out all the time in the workshops and in the trainings. The problem is that the amount or the percentage that they put into the importance of things in her life are not in congruence with the amount or percentage of time of the activities that she does during the day relating to what's important to her. So there is where it underlies the barrier. It's because we are not being congruent with our own selves. So once you take conscious about everything that you're doing during the day and you put yourself out there and you see how much time are you giving to things that are really important for you, then you realize that you have to do some changes. And I have gone through that when I have my 2 babies, because I got pregnant of my second baby when the first one was 6 months old.
Wow.
I was launching Glow Woman Club, like Glow Lunch, and I wanted to work for another company at the same time, part-time, and I wanted to do it all. And that's a very characteristic thing about us, women entrepreneurs. I want to do everything, and I have to learn that sometimes we have to see the things in a different scope, with a different glass, let's say.
Wow, I love that vision, together, not divide. It's a super open eye.
It's amazing the more I work on conscious leadership, the more I realize that most of humans, this is not only for women, we live in separation, not in communion of everything. We are in communion with everything, even if you see it from an energetic point of view. And when you see yourself in separation, even for women, when the relationship with her body is another thing that I work. It's like we see like our body is, an enemy sometimes. We are not working in communion. So I think it's time for us to realize that, to start working and acting and choosing in a different way. Not in separation, seeing in communion.
And about the power of the peers, because you have this group of amazing women together, how it works?
Yeah, we have the peer groups, which is part of the Global Man Club. At the moment, we have them only running in Porto because we started here in Porto. But then we have a program, an international program for women that would like to represent Global Man Club in their cities. We have a program of training. So if you want to create a peer group basically is a group of up to 12, 15 women that gather at least one morning per month. From 9 o'clock until 12:30, and it's like we are like a boarding a boarding group. It's like you have other women that are entrepreneurs as well, and they support us in our challenges, in our conquers as well. And during that morning is to do all the work that we need to do for ourselves. It's like sometimes people go there for one morning and they say that it was so productive to be there that it works like, it's like a 1 week work. Because first you have your energy replenished because you share with others, you are learning. Then you have your support group. It's like if you have an objective, you put it in there and you have, they are there and they are going to ask you how it's going. And a lot of women that starting their project said that they just when they went through that part that they were going to give up because we were there. She said at the end, it's like, I didn't give up because of you. And I was like, wow. But, it's that kind of support. It's like we're there for you and there is no judgment there, even self-judgment, which is the worst. And it's a safe group in which you can put your things there, either personal or professional. It doesn't have to be only one of both. And then we train skills as well, because every month we bring someone from the outside to train a skill, either in leadership or self-development or even in technology. We are always learning as well. And because I saw that this was working so well, I decided to create this mentoring group online. So if someone that is listening to this show and want to participate as well, can contact us, because we are starting up this in online as well.
Okay, great. And I am also curious and would love to share with our community what are the habits of inspirational women leaders. So, how is your morning routine?
So that was one of the videos that I showed recently when I started the year. And I shared it because a lot of people ask me, how do I do to keep up my energy levels? Well, I'm going to start sharing this. And it's very simple. First is to be aligned with your purpose and to feel that you're working for something that makes sense to you, your why, as you would say. But to be more practical, I don't wake up. My morning routine, I don't go straight to the mobile phone, which is something that most of humans does. And I have to confess that there was a time that I used to do that. And since I changed that routine, a lot of things started to change as well. And explain you why. It's because when we wake up, the first thing that we have to do is to align with ourselves. And what I mean by that is I do always something related to my body to start moving my energy. It could be some yoga exercises, even if it's only a stretch, if I don't have time. I go to the gym twice per week in the morning, very early. I go very early because I put my, the energy to flow in my body. And then, because we are not only body, we have a mind as well, and spirit. I train the spirit on my mind as well with some tools that I have from Access Consciousness, which are clearing statements. There are some phrases and commandments and questions that we say. So it dissipates the energy that is blocked in these things that I work with. Okay, so I never go to the computer, or I never go to do things if I don't put my body and my mind together to work together. And that's again the concept of not living in separation, but in communion. Once you have your body and your mind aligned, then you become more productive, because when you start working, you have a fresh mind with fresh ideas, and you have clarity, which is something that we don't have usually because we are unclogged with Instagrams and Facebooks and everything. And I'm not saying that we are not going to use them, because I use them, but we have to be conscious about how we use social media. If every time, Mary, that someone takes the phone like randomly in the morning and starts scrolling up, just seeing other things from other people, then you put your mind and your energetically, you put yourself in a place of lack, because you start seeing what others are doing, and you start the self-judgment about, oh my God, I'm here, I'm not doing anything, and look at the other one, and look what she's doing, and look what he's doing. And all this self-talk, it only brings you down. So I'm asking for everyone that is listening to this, please be conscious about, be aware of everything that you do with your body, and all the things that you put into your eyes, and you expose yourself to listen as well. I always say that we have to be very, demanding, in the sense of what is it that you expose your mind to hear and to see? What kind of things you're exposing yourself to be influenced by? So what are the news that you're seeing? What are the articles you're reading? What are the videos you're watching? See, everything has an influence on us. So check, what are you listening to? What are you watching?
Yes, for sure. And also you have an interesting way of organizing the weeks. I remember.
Yes, in any business, it would be very different. I organize the way I plan my year is like if the year has only 3 months. That comes from a study afterwards. If someone wants to watch this video in my YouTube channel, can watch the video. But it's about...
what is the name of the video?
Planning your year with intention.
Planning your year with intention.
Well, it's exactly. I don't know how to put the legends.
Yes, you can put the subtitles.
Basically, it's a methodology that I took from a book that I read, that it says that there was a study that says that the last 3 months of the year were the most productive in most of the companies in the world. And they started to study why that happened. And what they did is, like, in 3 months, because they felt that the year was finishing, you have enough urgency sense to start to do things so you don't procrastinate. And among other things, the main important topic that we can take from that is that if you divided your year in periods of 3 months, you set up goals for these 3 months, and then you set up goals for every month, and then tasks for every week. So you keep track of everything, and you accomplish more in 3 months than in a whole year. Why? Because 3 months is enough short to have something done. Because if you say that you have a whole year, you feel like, it's so far away.
Yes.
Distractions, and distractions are exactly our worst enemy for productivity, because then we allow them to do that, distract us, and they push us away from what is important. And then you have to see what is exactly what makes you. I apply the Pareto rule. It's like, what is the 20% of your business that really gives you the 80% of your revenues, and focus on that. Because we tend to, and especially women, we tend to embrace everything, and then we have a huge difficulty to say no to an invitation to go here, or to say this, or to be present in this place, and you have to know where do you have to be. You have to know what are your tasks for the week, your tasks, your objectives and goals for the month. And if you have an invitation or something to do whatever it is that it wasn't in your schedule or in your agenda, ask the question, would that contribute to my goals of this week or this month? Because sometimes we go to places and we go to do things that has nothing to do with what we want to accomplish, and then we complain that we didn't accomplish what we wanted to achieve. So it's a question of choice again.
Okay, so great to talk to you. So let's wrap up with our favorite questions. What advice would you give to your younger self, Esther, if you were starting today?
Well, there is something that my mom always used to tell me, and I realized that why she used to say that now that I'm in my 40s. That's something I would say to myself, which is trust in the process, trust in the universe as well. Because sometimes I got extremely anxious and I even suffered physically, because I was very anxious every time that I was going to launch something or have a presentation or have a training to do. Maybe people didn't notice it, but the amount of stress that I put into myself, nowadays I consider it wasn't worth it, because I could have trust myself and the universe, because always the universe have something else bigger and greater than what we can even imagine. There is if you allow me to share this, Mary, there is a phrase that I once heard from Deepak Chopra. He said that he used a metaphor which is very useful to explain this, which is when a baby is breastfeeding from the breast of the mother, and the mother takes out of the breast. He cries. He cries because he wanted more. But what he doesn't know, and he's crying, is what the mother is moving him to the other breast, which has more milk and more food and nutrients for him. Sometimes we cry because we lost something, or because we don't see the results in our project, but we are working, and if we are still working and we are still focused and giving the energy to what we are working, the universe is showing us somewhere, sometime. The thing is that the time of the universe is not the same of our time. And most of the entrepreneurs give up before the time. So I leave that not only for Esther, but for any other entrepreneur who maybe are not seeing the results he expects to see or she expects to see, but is there. If we keep going and if we keep working, it will show up. Maybe in a different way, but it always happens. Trust the universe.
Wow, what an amazing end. Thank you so much. Thank you, Esther, for sharing your wisdom with us today.
Thank you for having me, and congratulations for your work, Mary, because I got to meet you very recently, but I know your background with Miguel and all his work, and all things that you're doing are wonderful, and it's a great legacy for everyone. So congratulations for all your projects.
Thank you. It's the power of the peers. If we are surrounded of the best peers, we go. And thank you to our community for being on that side. We keep bringing the best of the best. See you soon and keep scaling.